Welcome to Pictures of Health, where we practice being healthy and not perfect.
Welcome to our series on healthy finances. And this is the first episode that we have in this particular series. And I'd like to start with a question. Have you ever thought about how you learn to manage money or how you learn to mismanage money? If you haven't ever thought about that, I recommend you spend a little time thinking about your very first influences or encounters with money, because I guarantee you can trace it back to how you are managing money or money is managing you today. One of the biggest blessings that I had in my life was a mother who really knew how to manage money. And my mom is deceased, but you'll hear me talk about her quite often, the good, bad, beautiful, and ugly. Because in order to heal, we have to be truthful with ourselves. And fortunately, today is a good story where I can be truthful about how I learned to manage money because I had a mother that was very good at money management. You see, money has to do with our mentality. I always say money is mental because how you manage money or how money manages you has to do with how you think about money. And as we go on today and I begin to give you some practical examples, you'll see how this is connected. Funny story for you. There were four of us, so I'm the eldest of four. And I really don't know how my mom managed with four children. She didn't make a whole lot, but she managed it well. A very funny story that I'll share with you is my middle sister, when she was old enough to move out and get her own apartment, she was very surprised to learn that the utilities were separate than the rent. She thought it was all together. She thought what she was paying for her monthly rent was inclusive of all of her utilities. She was shocked to find out that they were separate bills. And there's a reason for that. We always had our basic necessities met. There never was a time where we were without a utility service. Nothing was ever disconnected. We always had food, clothing, shelter. We didn't have to move around from one place to the next because my mom was very good at managing finances. So I always get a chuckle out of that and tease my middle sister because she really did think that they all were inclusive. And that's a big kudos to my mom for doing a great job with showing us how to manage money. And I share that story because I know that some of you had a different experience at home as a child and learning about money lessons. I know that that's not everyone's story. Just like I can trace healthy money management back to my childhood, I know some of you can do the same, but your experience was quite different. However, if you're listening to this podcast, it's not too late. Just as I use certain strategies that I've been using for decades, you can begin to use those same things as well and turn your situation around. Money is about mentality and how we think about it. So let's start there with the first tip that I'll give you. The way that I think about money is a servant for me. That's right, you heard me correctly. I use money to serve me. It serves my needs. It doesn't master me, but it serves me. You see, some of us use money as our master. And while we would like for it to be our servant, we've not learned the tools, strategies, and techniques in order to turn that around. And I was there too. Although my mom demonstrated great money management for me in my 20s and early 30s, I was horrible with managing money. After college, I applied for every credit card that they sent me and I used it up, ran it up to its limits. I did what typical young people do. And I was no different. I also robbed Peter to pay Paul. Now, that's an old saying that if you're not familiar with it, ask somebody over 40, they'll explain it to you. So I had poor money management techniques early on in life as well. But I did turn that around. I began to work a second job. So I had a full and a part-time job, and that helped me get out of debt. And once I got out of debt, I decided that I like being out of debt. I'm going to stay out of debt and not have money ruling over me, because when money masters you, it dictates what you can and you cannot do. So it's not your servant. When money serves you, you direct money as to where to go. Okay, I want you to bless me here and I want you to bless me there. So you have to begin to change your mindset about money and make it your servant. That's the first tip that I'll share with you. And the second tip that I'll share with you is not only can money be your servant, but credit can be your servant as well. You see, you can use credit in the place of capital. If you lack capital, credit can stand for a great substitute. During my divorce, we were 3 years going back and forth into court. It was 3 years before the divorce was finalized. And I knew that my daughter needed me on a consistent basis. So I didn't work during that time. I actually lived off of my credit. Yes, I accumulated a lot of debt that I was able to pay off, but I prioritized my daughter because her well-being was most important during that time. So I didn't work for 3 years and I lived off of credit. But that's because I had put in the work to get money to serve me. And then credit was able to serve me as well. When you're using credit as capital, you want to be sure to not charge more than you can pay off that next month. So you really want to use credit wisely and make sure that you can pay it off that next month. Of course, during my divorce where I wasn't working, I did accumulate the debt, but I was doing it at 0% interest, and I was able to shuffle the money around from one credit card to the next so that I never had any interest. And then, of course, when I went back to work, once the divorce was final, I was able to go back to work and pay those bills off. But you can make credit your servant as well. Just be sure, never charge more than you're able to pay off that following month. Or if you can't pay it off that following month, you need to have a plan in place that will allow you to pay it off very quickly. And I'm going to show you a tool at the end of this particular video to give you a tool that you can begin to use that will help you achieve that. Another tip for credit cards is you want to use cards that give you the most return. Whether that is in points or cashback, you always want to use the credit cards that give you the most return. Now, I understand that some of you may not have a credit score that can allow you to get one of those cards, but start with places like Capital One or even Chime Banking. There are some resources that I'll leave in the show notes that can help people who are struggling with building their credit back up again be able to obtain a decent credit score that will enable you to get to utilize one of the cards with the better benefits for you. And the final tip that I will give you is you want to always use a budget. I live by a budget. Whether I'm debt-free or not, I live by a budget because it manages my thinking. It allows me to project and see what's ahead. And I'm going to be sharing that budget template with you. For those of you who are listening through the podcast, you can go onto YouTube and download the budget that I'm going to be sharing with the team or sharing with everyone. You can download that budget and use that as well. So I'm going to share my desktop so that you could see the tool that I use for my budget, for my monthly budget. All right, so this is the yearly budget that I use. And as you can see here across the top on the first row, everything is separated by month. So I am going from January through December because I do my budget for the entire month, or excuse me, the entire year. And of course, monthly, I can come in and update it as needed. For those of you who are not able to see the spreadsheet that I'm sharing, if you will go to Pictures of Health on YouTube, the link to the spreadsheet will be available there, and you can download that and begin to use it as well. So let's look at this budget and go through line item by line item so that I can share with you what I do monthly to manage my finances. If you look here on the left column has what I call my blessings as well as my debts. I am a consultant, so I get paid once a month. Therefore, I have everything spelled out for each month. But if you needed a weekly or biweekly type of iteration, then you would, of course, break this down for week 1, week 2, or whatever your pay schedule was. And you can continue this out. I stopped at December, but you can rename these particular cells to whatever you need them to be and extend it out further to accommodate what your pay schedule would be. If you look at the far left column, you'll see the very first row is blessings. And I've been talking about this, and now you're seeing it. This is my real spreadsheet, not one that I'm making up to demonstrate to you. I think of my income as a blessing, okay? Because money is mental. How you think about money has to do with how you will manage money or how money will manage you. Remember, there's a slave and master relationship, and you get to choose, are you going to master money or will money master you? So everything that I get in as far as income is a blessing, because that's how I think about it. And of course, you would put in your amount that you receive every month in this second row here. After my blessings, I have my tithes, because I am a tither. I tithe faithfully. God has blessed me richly, and I tithe. However, I've not always been a tither. Remember when I shared with you how crazy my money management system was in my 20s and early 30s? I didn't tithe during that time because I was robbing Peter to pay Paul. I maxed out my credit cards. After college, if they sent me a credit card, I used it. And that just wasn't wise. Of course, I shared that I did work a full and a part-time job in order to get myself out of debt and begin financial recovery. So once I was able to recover financially, since my mid-30s, I have been tithing. And the reason I think of every income as a blessing is because tithing has been a blessing for me. I am still amazed that God allows me to earn 100% and he only wants 10% back. He actually gives me the ability to manage the other 90%. So I really try to be a good steward of what he has left me in charge of. The fourth row here is taxes. I already mentioned that I'm a consultant, so I don't have a typical W-2 position. My clients pay me on a monthly basis. They pay me after I send them an invoice. So they send me the gross amount of whatever that invoice is. No taxes are taken out. Therefore, I have to be responsible for my own taxes. And you'll see as we begin to work with this that I have accommodated for that. In addition to being a tither, you have to save. If I can give the church or whatever charitable organization I decide to contribute to, if I can give them 10%, then you better believe I'm going to save 10% for me as well, because I have to plan for my future. So I highly recommend that your savings become a part of your budget as well. And then, of course, you have your mortgage or your rent. I shop from Amazon every month. And so this is always a bill for me, as well as PayPal. I use those two pretty regularly. But these may be different for you. Of course, you may have credit cards here or whatever. All of this is interchangeable. You can type in whatever your blessings or debts happen to be in this left-hand column here. There's utilities. I accommodate for groceries as well as gas for the car. I have a security system that I pay for monthly as well. And anything miscellaneous that is not represented here. If you have an unexpected bill, something comes up that you weren't expecting, you could put that in the miscellaneous column. For me, my insurance premium is due every 6 months. So I will put this into the miscellaneous row there. And finally, there's the total. So you're going to see how this works because I've plugged in the calculations to make this really easy for you. All you should have to do is update the numbers. So let's say that in January, I made $5,000. February, I made $8,000 or whatever the amounts would be. You just type those amounts in as blessings. So if I made $5,000 for January, notice how the tithing, automatically calculated 10%, and my taxes are calculated at 20%. Savings again is at 10%. And then I would put in the mortgage. Let's say my mortgage is $2,000 and I owe Amazon $150. Let's say PayPal is $50. And let's say that my utilities are $200 a month. Groceries is another $200. I know your numbers may be different than this. And gas for the car, maybe that's $100. My security system is $30. And you can see that the calculations automatically populated the total for us. And so this would be what's left over. Now, me personally, I would say, well, $270 is nice. I could probably use half of that in maybe getting my hair done or nails or pedicures, whatever it is that you would want to do. But I would even take half of that and put it back into savings, because the more that I have as discretionary income, the more I'll spend, versus if I put it into savings, then it would not go to waste. So I really hope this budget is something that you will find useful. Remember, money is mentality. It has to do with how you're going to think about it. And if you change the way you think about money, your relationship with money will change. Don't forget, you can get this template if you go to YouTube, Pictures of Health. You can download this template and begin to work with it on your own. And if you'd like some additional support, you can work with me and I will help you create your budget complimentary session. Just use the Calendly link that's in the description and book some time with me, and we can go through and set you up a budget so that you can begin to think differently about money as well. Until next time, remember, hold everyone at levels that honor you. Bye-bye.